Hey, y'all. It's your girl Evelyn here, and we are back. And if you don't know who I mean when I say we, Patricia and I are back with another live stream. It is our last live stream of the year. And so we just kind of want to chat with y'all, talk about 2020, talk about any questions that you might have. And Patricia, can you see yourself? Like, are you on the screen?
No.
Oh, okay. Let me fix that. Let me fix that. There we go. Uh, yeah. So welcome back, Patricia, y'all. If y'all don't listen, if you don't know who Patricia is, aka Guys Design is by now, I don't know where you've been all year because she's been on my channel at least 30 times, probably. And so she is a wife, she is a nurse, she is a professor. If you watch her channel, you know she's adding some new titles to her long list. Okay, and I'm just excited to be here. I in my mind I was like, we got to get this last live in. You know what I'm saying? We got to get this last live in. So I'm excited. Say what's up to the peeps, Patricia.
Hi, everyone. It is great here yet again for the last live of the year. As always, bring your questions. We're going to chit chat a little bit about 2020 and what to look forward to, I guess, in 2021. But bring your questions. We're always open to answering them.
Yes, and for whatever reason, okay, now I can see the chat. Okay, here we go. Hey, Caribbean Curls. So, she said, "Hey, ladies, thanks for giving notice. Glad she could make this one. We tried, y'all. I think we literally just decided yesterday, was it, that we were going to go live?
Yep.
Yeah." Yeah, I think I was in a parking lot when we decided to go live today. And so I was like, let me go ahead and put the post up so the ladies could come through. So we're glad that you are here. And she says, congrats, Patricia.
Thank you.
Yes. If you don't know what we're talking about, then you're going to have to go over to Patricia's channel, okay, and watch a couple of her videos, all right, so that you can know what we're talking about. So that's exciting. So, uh, oh, that's sweet of you. She said that we're both glowing as always. Well, one of us has a reason. One of it is highlighter. Okay.
Love it.
Love it. So, where should we begin, girl? Like, y'all, we don't have a topic. Again, we don't have a topic, but we got about an hour and some change um, to just chit and chat with y'all. Oh, what's up, Patricia?
Um, there's a lot that's up, girl.
Girl.
There's a lot going on. But yeah, we wanted to touch on just like sort of a year-end review. What has life brought you in 2020? I think for the most part, 2020 is just like every year has brought goods and bads, And I feel like most people feel like the bads outweigh the good when it comes to 2020, just in their personal lives and just what's happening in the world around us. I've never lived a year like this one. I'll tell you, I've never lived through a pandemic. I've never, just so much death this year, and even socially in the Black community, what has happened this year, I think, is quite revolutionary, and probably something. This year is going to be something in the history books soon. And so I think that just like every year, but especially this one as it closes, it kind of really it forces you to reflect
Mm-hmm.
on what this year meant for you, and what you learned and what you'll walk into the next year with. I don't remember who it was. I want to say it was, I can't, let me not even do that. I can't remember who it was. And they were like, yeah, you guys are really rushing into 2020, 2021, not knowing that maybe, just maybe, It can top 2020.
I'm
Um,
talking from a positive standpoint because let me see what I cannot do. I cannot do again. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, all is not lost, in my opinion. All is not lost if you walk away with a life lesson, what I like to call life gems. And so, what if 2021 is just like 2020? It won't feel the same because we'll walk in with the right perspective. That's how I see it.
Yes. I actually saw this meme that was like, or I think it was like a reel or something on Instagram, and it was this girl, and she was doing a video about like, okay, what if you're all dressed up on New Year's Eve and you're counting down, 3, 2, 1, and then you hear the round two, right? Like the video game, like, oh, we're about to start over, right? And I
Hmm.
know, but to your point, it won't be a shock, right? It won't be this surprise. It won't be the rug has been pulled underneath from our feet. So I think the fact that if we are still here, where so many people did not make it through this year, that in itself is a blessing. It probably feels more like a blessing than it ever has. It's always a blessing, right, to see another year, God willing. But it just feels like more of a blessing this year. So, I mean, I think, like you said, there's been some parts that definitely have been traumatic and hard. And then I think, some of us or some people have had some amazing year in some respects. And then there's kind of like what they call survivor's guilt, or, like if you had a good year in spite of the pandemic, some people have felt a little of that kind of like survivor's guilt. Like, I know that the world is having a tough time, but I had a great year. And so there's just lots of emotions floating around. And so I think that's why we came, y'all. And we were just like, we don't even have a topic. We're just going to chat and chit and chat, take y'all questions. Oh, and G Angel is here.
Yay.
Hello, G Angel. Listen, I love it when the ladies in the chat know each other because they're back and forth. They're like, listen, we OGs up in this thing, and I love it. I love it, love it.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, y'all, what are y'all thoughts about 2020, or what questions do you have for us? We might be taking a pause. Well, let me say this: we're going to be taking a pause on a live stream for a little bit. Just lots of things happening. You know what I'm saying? Good things, nothing crazy. But we'll be taking a pause. And is that me?
No, it's
Oh,
me.
okay. Okay. Anyway,
Go
um,
ahead.
but
Go ahead and
like
do
we just
your
definitely wanted to get it in one last time because listen, Evelyn is going on a 2 week sabbatical effective tomorrow. So I'm excited about that. Won't be back until January 4th. So good times. So what else, y'all? Oh, they just Caribbean Curl said that they're just waiting for SJ.
Yeah, that's the crew.
That is the crew right there. I love it. I love that y'all connect with each other, not just with us. So that's what's up. Y'all, listen. Okay, so outside of the pandemic, like what else? Like recap. I mean, there's so much that went on, at least for me this year. I'm pretty sure for you too, Patricia. I don't even know where to start. Um, oh, Caribbean Curls has a question. Do you want to go there first, or do you want
My question is, what advice would you give to those spending the festive holiday period alone?
to?
Ooh,
That's a very good question. Um, wow, that's a good question. I'm definitely having a smaller holiday. It's just going to be my mother and I. Um, are there ways that you can connect with people that you love safely, um, even if it's virtual? And then how can you think of things that make you feel like you were with family? Like, if you celebrate Christmas, are you still decorating? Are you going to feed yourself something nice? Does your family, usually watch holiday movies or make cookies or something like that? And how can you still, it may not be at 100% what we're used to because of the state of the world, but how can you still have some elements um, that make it feel as normal as possible? Um, like it doesn't have to be zero if it's not 100. Is I guess that's what I'm saying, right? You don't have to not do anything if you can't do it the way that you normally do it. Patricia, what are your thoughts?
So I would say that it really depends on the person. Um, and the reason, like, is this, are you alone because of the, pandemic, or is it a choice,
Mm,
or just sort of family dynamics or circumstance, or maybe you moved away? I think that would help me a little bit more. But because the only reason why I say that is I know for me, making the time memorable, no matter who's involved, is works for me. Like whether it's like baking cookies that I usually bake with my mom, or whether it's listening to holiday music while I'm sipping on some chai latte, I don't, whatever it is that sort of gives me the spirit of the time without actually being in contact with people, something that I would want to do. Now, if this is a circumstance where you've lost loved ones, and or somehow this time would bring painful memories, and just kind of living it like a normal day might work better for you. So it's like, what's your why? What's your why? But if it's for, circumstance because of the way the world is right now, or maybe you move far away, you can't make it back home, obviously, because traveling is not a thing right now, then doing those little things that still remind you of the festive time, and kind of take your little pictures and send to your family members like, hey, thinking of you, and maybe some Zoom calls, would help keep you connected with your family as well. But if not, I know this time can be just really hard for some people in general, because of what it reminds them of, and maybe that treating it like another day might help you push through.
yeah. No, that's a great perspective, Patricia, because, I think sometimes I will say, I will speak for myself. Sometimes I forget that, the holiday season is a very different experience for different people in different phases of life for a variety of different reasons, right? And so, no, I appreciate, pulling it from both perspectives. So that is good to know. That is good to know. That's a great question, Caribbean Curl. And plus, I think that was such a great question because I think other people, whether they watched the replay or whether they didn't want to ask, maybe may have a similar question or may find themselves in a similar situation. So, um, thank you for your perspective on that, Patricia. Listen,
Mhm.
y'all got to come. Listen, I keep the questions coming because I don't really have nothing, I have nothing to say. Y'all pray
I'm
for us.
telling you. So let's review 2020 a little bit. I'll review 2020 from my perspective.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I feel like I need some popcorn for this.
I I went to 2020 like I think everyone felt it, Evelyn. Just it was something in the atmosphere. I feel like every because I remember like December, 2019, more than ever, you heard people not in 2020, like no, not in 2020, like no, no more foolishness in 2020, or you know what I mean? Everyone was leaving the mess in 2019 because 2020 was supposed to bring new vision, new insight, new perspective. That's what it was. That's what all the preachers were preaching.
And
2020 vision,
no,
y'all. 2020.
but did it not bring new vision and new?
It, it did.
I,
It
I,
did, but not in the way that we thought.
I don't know.
And that's that gotcha.
But
And January 2020, January 2nd or 3rd, I believe, I started a brand new job. And I remember we did our little New Year's thing, with intimate with, our family. And then I started a brand new job. I was excited. And then I mean, Kobe, y'all, like that's what opened 2020. I remember exactly where I was when I found out. I was sitting on my sister's couch at her house, and we were having a conversation about something completely different. And sure enough, that's when the news dropped. And when I tell you the weight of that loss on the world at large, crazy. And we were like, what? 2020? Shortly thereafter, the rumblings of Miss Rona, you know what I'm saying, in February.
Mhm.
And then in March, I remember I was still working at the hospital at that time, and we started to get our first rounds of patients in March
Mhm.
and preparing for that and what that meant. I remember the little huddles with all the staff and how we were going to prepare for what could potentially hit us. And then shut down, at least here in Maryland, towards the middle end of March. I was literally sitting in my office at the school. I had just finished teaching, and they were like, yeah, we're at least shutting down till spring break. Who would have thought that we would have never returned in that capacity up until this day? Like, you know what I'm saying? And then not too long after that, George Floyd, when I tell you this year has been from the world and also my personal life. I think right before George Floyd is when I found out that I was expecting, right after the shutdown.
Mhm.
And it's been crazy, y'all. Since then, I mean, January, February, March, every month, 2020 has like hit us with a punch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think about how my year started out, and one of my big aspirations, because I am such a huge introvert, was like, oh, I'm about to get out and live life this year. Oh, I can't be in a house all the time no more. I've been this way too long. I'm doing this. And I remember I was planning a trip to China because a good friend of mine that I went to college with and have stayed in contact with over the years has been living over there and teaching for the past 3 years. And she was slated to come back this year. So I was like, oh, I got to get over there, because I was like, that's not necessarily a place that's like on my, ooh, I absolutely want to visit. But I was like, if somebody that I know is there and like I could stay at her house, I was like, ooh, I'm going to go. So I remember when they went into lockdown first, and I was like, well, that I knew that came off the vision board, off the plans for the year, off top right. I literally wrote in there virus question mark, right? And
Mm.
that was around early January. And then I remember one day that my house almost blew up because thought I had turned off the burner on the stove, and the flame went out, but the gas had not went out. And so for hours, and I woke up and I could smell it. And when you smell gas, you're like, if I rub across the carpet wrong, this
Mm.
whole thing could get set off, right? And so I was just like, what is this? So like in my mind, I was thinking, looking at my journal, I was like, was that last year? And I was like, no, that was this year. And so I was like, oh no. So was out gallivanting with friends. I was like, listen, I said the enemy trying to play with me this year. This is before Corona entered into the United States, right? Or to the level that we know. So I was
Mhm.
going out to eat all the time with my friends. I was like, I'm about to live life, whatever. And I had in December of 2019, I saw that Jill Scott was doing her 20th anniversary tour. And Jill Scott's like one of my favorite female artists of all time, right? And I remember going, oh, I'm going, like the moment the tickets dropped, I was like, I'm sitting in the front, I'm buying a ticket. I don't know why I felt so pressed to go, because I've seen the woman in concert like 8 times, right? So I was like, I could have missed her. So I ended up going to her concert the Thursday night before the Sunday shutdown. So like literally I was in a concert hall with 3-4 thousand people on Thursday, and by Sunday the city, the nation basically was shut down, right? And so everybody was baking, everybody, like I was making all the breads, cookies, pies, muffins, pizza, just ridiculous over here. And for the longest time, it really didn't affect me because it was I already worked from home. It was life as usual. But I think for me, I knew fairly early on that this wasn't going to be a 2 week thing. My first thought was 6 months. Like that was just because I understand science a little bit. When they were talking about, I was like 2 weeks. That I was like, Psh. And then I know we talked, and you were like, wait till cold and flu season comes back around. We're going to be in this probably longer. So I think that was like in May when we had that conversation, and you were like, yeah, no, the fall ain't going to be no better, right? And so I think at that time I was like, oh, this is about to be a year long experience minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think there's some relief that there's going to be a new year, as in we can close up 2020 in a year, even though things are not going to end in 2021. You know what I mean? But you're right. Like Kobe came, and that was a like, and you saw men mourning publicly the way you had never seen men mourn publicly.
Yeah.
Kobe was like their real life. So he was the homeboy, like he was amazing, but he was still flawed. They had followed his journey, at least particularly from my age generation. We grew up with Kobe, right? Like, so, I remember when Kobe Bryant took Brandy to the prom. Like, I remember that. You know what I mean? So, that was crazy. And then, like you said, all of the social unrest and this, it just felt like emotional trauma after emotional trauma after emotional trauma. And it was just like, and then at the same time, I was like, I had to check out because it felt like every other day there was something there. And I was like, we ain't gonna make it. So, I mean, that's kind of my 2020 in a nutshell. I think a lot of people can relate. I think our personal journeys have been different. For me, like business got really busy. But that makes sense for the industry that I'm in because of what happened to the restaurant industry and the culinary world. And so, um, that's been hard to see, people that I know personally, colleagues who have restaurants, and like see them break down in tears. I had a good chef friend who actually had opened his restaurant in January and then closed it down at March, right? Like, and it was just a thing. I mean, he's doing fine now, but so watching all of
Wow.
that, and I think I'm just excited to, like you said, no matter what 2021 holds, at least I'm not going to be caught off guard. Well, let me say this. At least I think I'm not going to be caught off
Right?
guard. But I hear the chat a popping. Let me hop all over here. So, G Angel asks a good question. She says, what's something positive has 2020 done for you in your life? Um, do you want to answer that first, or
um, I think go ahead, you go ahead,
okay?
Evelyn. Let me think about
Okay.
it a little bit.
2020 positive. I mean, yes, there's a lot of like tangible positive things. I think the biggest thing is it helped me really, and this is going to sound very cliche, and I'm pretty sure like we are going to have an onslaught of what 2020 taught me videos, right? Like, I feel like I might just need to log out of YouTube for January because I feel like we're going to have think pieces for the next 90 days. But for me, it really showed me where my strengths were, but it also showed me where my weaknesses were. Like 2020 is like a stress test, right? When they stress test vehicles or when they stress test building structures, like to show where the weak parts are. And that sounds negative, but I think it's really positive because it showed me like, oh yeah, you're really strong in these areas, but girl, you ain't been paying attention to these areas. And so it was able to kind of highlight that for me so that I could rearrange my focus a little bit um, on those areas that were the weakest link for me. And that for me, that is a positive thing. It doesn't feel positive when you realize it, but like if I would have kept going at the rate that I was going or the way I had planned 2020, I don't know if I would have ever really realized where those spots that needed more of my attention were. So that was very positive for me. I feel like my friendships got deeper. Like we did a year basically of live streams, which You know, it's been so fun to me, and a blessing. I mean, if I was to log the amount of hours Patricia and I have talked between the live stream and off the live streams, okay, like it's so that has been fun. So that's positive for me. What about you, Patricia?
Um, that's definitely. I'll start there. 2020 has definitely strengthened my friendships. And it's so interesting because a lot of these friendships, anyway, they're all long distance. So it's not like we would have been seeing each other. So I don't know what about 2020 has done that. I can say all of my friendships have been strengthened on some level, which is such a blessing. I will say it has completely changed my career as well. 2020 forced me to leave the hospital, and so I'm not too sure when that would have happened if 2020 had not come, because I just was not willing to put myself in that type of situation, given it's not only me now I got to think about, you know what I mean? And so it has changed my career. And it's interesting because I looked back, and you guys do this too, because though you might laugh at your vision board or your goals list from 2020, look back to 2019, 2018, and see how many of those came to fruition this year. And career wise, that's exactly what happened from 2019. So things that did not happen in that year happened in 2020 career wise. And one of the things is I wanted to be working from home, and that happened in 2020. Not in the way that I would have expected,
Okay.
but it happened in 2020. What a blessing that is. I think 2020 has forced me, since we're talking about me, to rethink life on many levels. What is important, what's not, what's extra, what's necessary. Um, Definitely. I mean, just rethinking connecting with people. I remember one of my like couple friends, they were just like, oh, it would be so cool to like sit down and have dinner together. And so we got on Zoom, him, his wife, me, my husband, and we just had dinner on Zoom together. Like no one would have thought of that had it not been for 2020. So as much chaos that this year has brought, it definitely has given us new perspective, new vision, just not in the way that we might have expected it to.
You know, there's a phrase that I wish I could remember who I heard it from, and it talks about sometimes you get what you want, but you don't want what you got. And I feel like some of us got what we wanted, just not in the way, if to modify that phrase, just not in the way that we would have wanted. It's like, oh, I mean, I wanted to work from home. You know what I'm saying? It didn't take a pandemic to do it. But here we are. And I think that it has caused us as a world culture to be resourceful, to problem solve outside of the box, um, to be less me focused and more we focused. So it's crazy, girl. And these comments is popping. Oh, SJ done made it to the broadcast. Hey, girl, they was looking for you. Okay, they were looking for you. The crew was looking for you. Oh, listen, Emma Elizabeth's here. Everybody's here. I'm so excited. I feel like it's like girlfriends getting back together. So, Elizabeth says, I thought 2020 was going to be my year. Same here, Evelyn. I'm such an introvert and was planning on traveling and going out this year. Girl, when I say I had plans, outfits, okay, I was ready. Um, Caribbean Curl says, yes, I wanted to step into 2020 with 2020 vision. Here's the thing, though. I think we got real clear on a lot of things.
Hmm.
We got real clear on where people stand, on how they feel about certain ethnicities. I think we got real clear about some weaknesses in our country and things that we've had our head in the sand about for a long time. I think we got real clear that the way our education system is set up was time for an update. I think we got real clear that the way we were working people was not sustainable, and that people have been trying to tell people that working from home has been an option for years, and companies were saying you can't do it, and it's like, I guess it turns out we can, right?
Yeah.
I think we got real clear that you do have to help people when crisis happens, as a government, as a country. I think people got real clear about, oh, my job wasn't as secure as I thought. You know what I'm saying? And maybe I need to act on that idea. Not saying that everybody needs to be an entrepreneur, but maybe you need to have something on the side. I think some people in relationships realize, man, I really picked the right person. Unfortunately, I think some people realize maybe I didn't. Okay. I think people realize what relationships. So to me, I could keep going. I think, um, again, that stress test brought a lot of clarity, positive and uncomfortable. So, we got that 2020 vision. We just had to have surgery to get it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, oh, they're virtually hugging each other in the chat. I can't. Y'all are so cute. Uh,
I love it.
Positive, yes. Okay, so Creamy Crow says, my savings goal has been through the roof since I haven't been going anyway. Listen,
That's a
that's a
positive. Hmm.
positive. Now, some people was online shopping, me, but I still saved more than ever. Shopping. Talk about it at the beginning of 2020. G Angel says she rediscovered herself.
Mm.
Come on, don't make me shout. I will shout this thing down. Okay. Look at this. Patricia, SJ said, I finished my degree, had my virtual graduation on Tuesday, and won Inspirational Student of the Year. I am not about to cry. They picked me to do the class speech too, was not expecting, but grateful that I didn't give up. I feel like we was talking about your schooling earlier in the year.
I feel like we were.
I'm not gonna get emotional.
That's awesome.
I love it. I love it. Uh, yes, that's right, Caribbean Curl. She said, I remember a live where you were saying if you should keep going, and you did.
Look at that.
Look at that. Look at that. Um, Angel says, Patricia and Evelyn, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you. You have helped me a lot, and I'm very grateful.
That's awesome.
It's our pleasure. Um, Caribbean Curl says, equally, it was so refreshing to have these lives to look forward to.
Yes. Y'all, it was equally, let me tell you, I look forward to them as well.
Yes.
I really do. When we don't have them, ask Evan, I'm like, we got to fit this in somehow. Because towards the, like, once the summer left, it got real tough, as you guys saw.
You saw. And let me tell you, y'all. So when Patricia hit me up yesterday, because like we both got a lot of stuff going on next week, right, and thereafter. And so when she hit me up yesterday, when I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, Thursday's my business day." And then I felt that she needs this as my friend, and so I am going to move things around and make it work. So just like y'all look forward to it, I think it has also been a nice escape for us. Like it's, I mean, yes, do we talk outside of these lives? Sure. But I think it was also our own escape, right? Like I'm genuinely hyped when I see y'all name in the chat. Like we even said earlier, like SJ, if you go back and watch the replay, we were like, where's SJ? You know what I'm saying? I know it's late where you are, but like, you know what I mean? So for us, I think Patricia could tell when I needed it. I feel like I could tell when she needed it. You know,
Hmm.
there were times where we both weren't feeling it, but we felt like y'all needed it. Um,
Hmm.
and so for me, that's God. The God is like, it's always I think there were some times where we both was like, we can't do it. And like, no harm, no foul. We didn't feel some kind of way. I remember at least two times where we both were like, who would try to pull through and do it? And those times, the discussion
Yeah.
was so important.
Yeah.
Um, for y'all, for us, you know, I think there was one time where I was in a really bad headspace. Patricia just tell you, probably me, if y'all don't know this about me, I'm a crier. Probably was in tears, and Patricia was like, "We gonna do it anyway." And then like by the time it was over, I felt so much better. So like we looked for. I said all that to say, and I feel like I'm talking too much. Let Patricia talk. I'm gonna drink some juice. We look forward to it as well.
Yeah, I agree. I really agree. So thank you, you guys, for. I feel like no, this is the last one of the year. I feel like the way we talking, we're not coming back. This is the last one of the year. We gonna see you next year, okay?
Some point.
It's just not gonna be as regular. But these have been a blessing to us as well. So I look forward to it. And I realize too that these discussions, don't happen every day. And so I like this little space that we have here on YouTube where we can just kind of chit chat about life and about doing life well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh wow. Um, is it Shani? I don't want to mispronounce that. Shanisi
You see?
left an abusive relationship this year and getting back to my true self. Listen, that's a whole journey in itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole journey. Listen,
Good for you.
good for you. You come over and you hang out with us. Okay. And Patricia, I think this question is for you from SJ. How do you deal with mistakes in a clinical environment and healthcare? Example, how to regain confidence and overcome errors.
Good question, SJ. I saw that you left this on one of the videos, and I commented about that. This is a really good discussion to have, and honestly, hopefully, this is something that I could do like a separate video on. But I'll answer it here. The first thing you have to realize is everybody makes mistakes, whether they report them or not. Everyone makes mistakes, and um, unfortunately they happen, right? And the whole thing is hopefully they don't happen and produce a poor outcome, right? Hopefully it doesn't affect your patient. Really, that's the poor outcome. But these things do happen. So first, realizing that you're not the first one. If this is you, you're not the first one, and you will absolutely not be the last. Okay. And so forgive yourself for that reason. I understand in the clinical environment, people expect perfection. Like it's a thing. And rightly so. You're dealing with other people's lives. Like there is little room to mess up, but it does happen. And realize that though people are not, they may not be talking about it. Um, Likely every nurse, every doctor, every has made a misstep somewhere. So realize you're not the first and the last. And learn from the experience. Be very, 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 very honest with yourself. Where are the places that I could have double, triple, quadruple checked? And how can I implement a new strategy so that that doesn't happen again? And lean into that. Take that energy that you feel, that self doubt, all that, and channel it into a strategy to avoid that happening to you again. And really, that's where, if you walk in with a strategy, guess what? You feel confident, right? Because you feel prepared to tackle work again. And so it's going to take a while, but the more you just push through, you'll gain your confidence again. You will. So that's what I would say. Make sure you realize you're not the first, you're not the last, right? Everyone has been through it. And I think that gives you comfort because you're not the only one. And then two, develop a strategy. Be honest with yourself and develop a strategy so something like that does not happen again.
I love it. Listen, and I think that advice applies to any industry, right? Or to any area of our life. It's like we're human. We're gonna make mistakes. How do I go? Okay, got it that one time. Let me do better the next time. So no, I think that was fantastic. You're right, Patricia. We were kind of talking like this is the end of live streams ever. Like I don't know why we live in that energy as the year comes to an end? Like, this,
Mhm.
it's like we're giving an award speech at, like, the Oscars. Like, this year has been like, is we're gonna click over and we're gonna be doing, what we were doing the week before, right? I love that phrase that there's nothing special about January 1st, that you can start your new year, new
Yep.
mindset, new habit today in the next 5 minutes. But, there is something about being able to say, like I said, buttoning up 2020 and putting it in the back of the closet and being like, you know what, you got me, but no.
I just want to take a moment to really appreciate this green eyeshadow that Evelyn has on. I'm here looking at it in the YouTube view, and it looks, I think over here, it looks blurry, so I can't see it all. But over here, girl, I love green eyeshadow anyway. I love it.
let me
It looks so good.
let me tell y'all, this is a slight diversion. Let me tell you where this conversation about this green eyeshadows come from. Thank you, first of all. But let me tell you what happened, okay? And this is all Patricia's fault, by the way. She already knows this, okay? So Patricia FaceTimes me the other day, and she shows me a little something that she had treated herself to, right? In the cosmetics department. And so she was telling me, like, oh, the cosmetics outlet store, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I think we have one here. So what does Evelyn do? Like the next day or the day after, she hops her chocolate behind up, drives all the way to the outlets on the outskirts of Dallas, and she goes and she buys her some discount makeup. Now, y'all know I have revamped my entire makeup collection this year. Y'all have to let me know if you want me to do a video or a live just walking out through like the process stuff I bought. It's a lot, but let me know. But so I bought this Tom Ford quad, and when I got it outside in the sunlight, we were on FaceTime, right? I
Hmm.
was like, oh, I don't like it. Like, I'm glad I got it at a discount, but I'm not in love with it. This is not the color I was going for. I was looking for a different kind of green. And she was like, I don't know, I think you might be able to work with it. And I was like, okay, well, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm going to use it. I mean, this is literally how I was acting, right? And so I got it home and I swatched it and I was just like, that's not the green I was going for, right? And then I put it on today and I was like, it might not be that bad. You know what I'm saying? It's still not the color I was going for. So I'm still in search of this very particular color, but I definitely think this is, if I'm going to wear green, this is the right shade of green for my skin tone. So thank you. Um, Thanks. But that's the story behind the eyeshadow, is that Patricia made me buy it. Like, y'all think influence is just for like YouTube and Instagram? My friends be influencing me in FaceTimes and text messages. Ooh, why am I? Uh-oh. There we go. Yeah, they be like influencing me, and then I have to send them a picture of what I bought that they just told me about 2 days before. So, um, okay, we've got lots of questions. This is good, 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 good. Okay, so SJ says, oops. Uh-oh. There we go. Thank you, Patricia. Yes, everyone makes mistakes, and I understand the most important thing is learning from them. Yes, that's true. And then she came back and said, can you share any advice you would give to newly qualified clinical practitioners? That sounds like a whole video series to me.
It does, but it does. But there's one thing I would tell you, and that is to take every opportunity there is to learn. Every single opportunity there is to learn. And so whether it this scenario, oh my gosh, I just can't be great today.
It's
I put
fine.
my phone on silent, y'all. I'm sorry. It's my sister calling. Sorry,
Nobody bother you, fine.
Alice. um, what was I saying? Oh, one piece of advice: take every opportunity there is to learn, whether it's your patient assignment or not your patient assignment. Go and learn. I remember my first year, second year of nursing, you know, you know how we do. We come up to the unit, we're like, oh gosh, I have to go do this, or oh gosh, I have to do that. And it's like, ooh, can I come watch? Ooh, can I come see? Ooh, can I come do it for you? That's the way that I was. I wanted to maximize every learning opportunity that I had, even if it wasn't my patient, because I know that next week it could be me. And it's better that I've seen it before and done it before so that I can be more confident when it's my turn. So there. I could do a whole list, but the one thing I would tell you is take every opportunity there is to learn.
I think, listen, I think you and Alice probably could do a whole series in the nurses note about that,
Hmm.
like a launch. But anyway, we can have that conversation offline. Okay. So Felicia says, I usually catch the playback. I just wanted to say thank you guys. Oh, yay. I'm glad that y'all be watching the replay. Me and Patricia was talking about this. I mean, we do look at the analytics and y'all be in them replays. Like,
Yeah.
y'all legit be in the replay. So I love it on both of our channels. Um, M. Elizabeth said, I don't know why I keep it's Elizabeth, okay? I don't know why I always say M. Elizabeth. I've been doing it for months. Girl, I know who you are. Listen, how do you ladies prioritize yourselves without appearing selfish to others?
Sometimes you're going to appear selfish, and that's just going to have to be okay. Um, and, some people will get it and some people won't, and that's not up to you to manage. And that's really it. There are things that I do that people just don't understand. And you have two camps where people are like, on one side, people are like, I should probably implement that as well. Like that would help my, and then there's another, so at once a week, a group of friends of mine, we have a Google Duo call where we kind of all get on a video group call. And it was Saturday, and Saturdays I get up and I do my makeup. Right now, the reason why this is a big deal because I used to wear makeup 6 days out of the week. That is not the case these days. And for me, makeup is not a chore. It helps me. It's a moment of my day where I get to just,
Hey,
elevate the look and just, it's therapeutic really to sit there. I love to watch like a get ready with me while I'm doing my makeup or a tutorial from one of my favorite like vloggers. And then I'll just sit there and do my makeup. And so these days that doesn't happen as much, not 6 days a week or 7 days a week like before. And so I take that moment. And so I was on a group call and my girl was just like, girl, where are you going today? And I was like, nowhere. I just, and she was like, you know what? I need to do that too because I've been feeling like a bum lately. You know what I'm saying? Or you'll have another camp who'll be like, girl, that is doing the most. Like, take this opportunity. You don't have to do it. And we just see it differently, right? They don't see it as an investment. And so you can't be worried about them. You can't be worried about them. Like the last week, I went and got a pedicure done, and somebody said to me like, you preparing for a whole life, and you out here wearing my pedicure. And I'm like, yep. And next week, I'm worried about my nails. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I want to take advantage of this time right now that I have before this little one makes her arrival, and I have to take a pause on myself at least for a little bit in the way that I'm used to. And so you just have to do it, girl. You can't worry about how it looks or how it appears because it's going to look that way to some people. And that's just going to have to be okay.
and it's just gonna be okay. Listen, I second that. I amen that. I thumbs up that. I diddle that. And my phrase when it comes to those types of situations is if somebody's gonna have to be uncomfortable, it's not gonna be me. Right. So if you're uncomfortable that I'm taking care of myself, and the alternative is for me to be uncomfortable because I'm not prioritizing myself, so you can be comfortable that I'm not prioritizing myself, then you're going to have to be uncomfortable. Like, you know what I mean? Like the question in itself is the rub. How do I prioritize me but not seem selfish to others? Who's the priority? If you don't want them to think you're selfish, then that means they're being the priority, right? That you're prioritizing their feelings over prioritizing caring for yourself. So It sounds a little harsh, but let me tell you, the people who get it are the people who have their own boundaries, right? And their thing that they do to prioritize themselves may be completely different from what you do, but they understand that, oh, I'm going to do this to take care of myself. End of discussion, period. That's the end of the statement, right? So what I usually find is that people who don't prioritize themselves well struggle with respecting or understanding or even celebrating when another woman takes care of herself. And so you do have, like Patricia said, those two camps where there's some women who were like, you know what, I need to pick that up. That's good. Oh, I like that. Because they see it as like, you know what, I'm not doing that, but I should. Thank you for showing me what that looks like. And then there's some women who are just so determined to be a martyr, or I don't even want to insult them. Some people just don't get it, right? And that's not their fault. They have been bred to put themselves at the bottom of the list. No. Okay. No. Matter of fact, I'm going to be doing a whole like curating your self care for 2021, like masterclass in January. It's y'all will hear about it because I feel like that taking care of yourself. I don't care if it's a pandemic going on. What do you need to do to take care of yourself? I don't care. You can be pregnant. Take care of it. You can be it. Let me tell you, the other day I was having such a bad day, and my homegirl told me at 3 o'clock. She was like, you're done for the day. Go get into bed." And you know what I did? I got into bed. And then you know what God did after I prioritized myself? He had my good friend Patricia call me. She'll tell you. I picked up the phone. It was pitch black. We was on FaceTime. She was like, "Why are you in the dark?" Because I was like, "I'm in the having such a bad day, y'all. Like I was having such a bad day." And I decided that my client emails could wait, potential client emails could wait, whatever. And what made me feel good was to lay down and then to spend a couple of hours talking to my friend. And then I felt better the next day. I was so energized the next day. But them people had to wait. People had messaged me on Instagram. They don't have to wait because I needed to prioritize myself. So I know we went long into that, but Patricia and I are very adamant about
Yeah.
caring for yourself, and that it may not always look or go the way you want it to go, but you can still get it done. You can
Yeah.
always take care of yourself. You may have to move some things around. You may have to get some support. But you can always get what you need. So that's our answer. Listen, we could probably do a whole live stream on that because, girl,
Shawnese said something that I like. She said, "No is a complete sentence."
listen.
I like that.
Let me tell y'all. If y'all want Patricia and I at some point to do a live stream about the power of no, I will tell you this. Some people have had the story where they struggle with like saying no to people. That has never been my story. No is my default response. Okay. So if you want me to lay hands on you and like, spread some of this no blessing into your life, I'm more than willing. The altar is open because no is my default setting because I saw people who did not know how to say no run themselves ragged for other people and then get upset when those people didn't reciprocate that same level of sacrifice because they had healthy boundaries, right? And I was like,
Mhm.
"That'll be me." So listen, yeah, we don't. Yeah, listen, yes, the power of enough. Listen, we can do a whole thing on that. Let's see. G Angel asks, "What are your top 3 or 5 readings for this year?" I love the audacity to be queen. That
Yeah.
was good. That book was good. Did you finish that, Patricia?
I did. I did.
Yes.
And honestly, I think that that was probably my favorite read for this year. I'm trying to think so I'm not lying. Um, and mostly because it was very timely, I think. Very timely. And I think it helped me to explore, actually give reasoning to things that were already working itself out in my life. And I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense. And it was really good for me to read. I think it's a great book for singles to read, but I think it specifically helped me in my transition into my new role as a wife, because that receiving energy, um, that book sort of talks about and got me comfortable with that on new levels. Because, yeah. So, anyway, I really enjoy that read too. That probably would be my favorite for this year.
Yeah. I would say for me, Audacity McQueen is at the top. Atomic Habits that I read right at the top of the year, I ate through that book like it was a piece of cake, right? So those two, I mean, and if you know Patricia and I, we are really into personal growth and development. Um, I've listened to a couple of audiobooks this year, but like I would say top two standouts. Number one is the Audacity to Be Queen. I mean, y'all know I talked about it, told Patricia about it, then she read it, and like, and then it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have did a. I mean, well, she did do a book club on it, but we could have did a whole year study on that book itself because I just think it was
Right.
good. But
Right.
then also Atomic Habits, which is not a new book, but was new to me, and I like personal growth and development and all that kind of stuff. So, and I feel like the Audacity to Be Queen addressed the feminine side of my life, and I feel like the Atomic
Yeah.
Habits addressed the masculine side of my life. And so to see um, the two, how they have woven together, has like I think really helped me throughout this year. So that would
Yeah.
be my
My other my other favorite for this year is The Obstacle is the Way. I also read that this year, and I enjoyed that one. If you guys haven't read The Audacity to Be Queen, I think you really should. I think the few chapters where she talked about Esther really changed my life. I remember I was like on those chapters, and I listened to it, so just listening to it helped me visualize it in a different way. And I've heard that story growing up in the church a lot of times. And it definitely was in one way. And I think listening to her speak it out, I became Esther in the story. And I was like going through the emotions of what she likely felt in all those sort of stages of her life. And then for her to get to that defining moment in her life where she literally had to save her people is just
yeah.
yeah, yeah, y'all.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I've been a fan of Gina DeVee for a very long time, and so when she dropped the book, I knew, like, I had heard her tell that Esther story multiple times, and with varying levels of intensity. And if you go to her website, which is I think divineliving.com, she has some like free video series that you can watch, and in a couple of those, I mean, don't get me wrong, she is a business coach, ironically, like teaching coaches how to be coaches, but she incorporates that femininity in there. But she's got some videos, and that's how I first encountered her years ago, where that Esther story got me, because like you, Patricia, I had heard it very one dimensionally,
Mhm.
and to hear it the way I heard it the first time from her, I mean, in that way from the first time from her, I was hooked. I was like, oh, what you talking about? I'm listening. You know what I mean? And ladies, if you haven't read it, I would say it's a great read, and it's one of those things that I know I'll come back and read it again, like as my life changes and as I enter new phases. I know that I'll come back and visit it again. I mean, I might even read it top of the year because I tore through it so fast. It's one of the, you know how like you have a great meal but you're also starving, and you're like, was that food good because I was hungry, or was it
Mhm.
good because it was good? I think it was both. I think I was starving for that kind of book, and I think it
Right.
also was really good. So I would like to read it on a full stomach, if you will, and really be able to take it in. Um, ooh, the chat is popping, and okay, well, do do do. Ooh, Caribbean curls. See, I'm gonna put the question up, but I'm gonna let Patricia answer it because she's the health professional. Caribbean curl says,
Uh-oh.
"What are your thoughts on the vaccine, and will you be taking it? Interested to hear from a health professional's point of view," which means you're not talking to me, so I don't have nothing to say.
Well, let's poll the audience. Those of you guys who are watching live. Um, what do you think? Are you going to take it or are you not going to take it?
And while we're pulling
Oh.
them, we'll keep going. SJ says yes, we'll be up for a video series, time permitting, on advice for the newly qualified. Oh yeah, she was talking about for the nurses notes. So I think that would be great for you and Alice. And she says, SJ says, she can be a people pleaser at times. Listen, you need to be a self pleaser,
Yeah.
and it will put you in better relationship with people. But I think, and tell me if you can relate to the experience. I think we have been taught that caring for self is selfish. And I always think about this, the phrase, oh, what's the phrase? Oh, it just escaped me. But it's basically saying, like, loving others the way you love yourself. There's a scripture too. I'm tripping, y'all.
Mhm.
It's a week. I'm getting ready to go on vacation, so I feel like my mind is like landing the plane. But when I think about that phrase, there's always the assumption that people are loving themselves well. So when it talks about loving people the way you love yourself, there's always this assumption that I'm loving myself well. And it's like, but if I'm not loving myself well, then I only know how to love you to the degree that I know how to love. And so it's kind of like, if I can't extend grace to me, I'm probably not extending grace to you. If I don't know how to forgive myself, I'm probably not good at forgiving you. If I don't know how to, yep, I made a mistake, or I said the wrong thing and that's not really who I am, at my core, and I just had a weak moment, then I probably don't know how to hold space for other people when they have those same moments, right? So, yeah, lean in, be a self pleaser first, and it will actually put you in better relationship with other people. Um, yes, please. I'd like to have a front seat to that sermon. I forgot what the sermon. I don't forgot already. I love that the chat is popping today. Listen, Chauncey says, I really want to be more intentional about reading in 2021. I was a big reader as a kid and fell off of it. That's fine. And I think I would look at it as a treat to yourself. I think a lot of times, at least for me, I used to treat reading like I should be doing this, and then it felt like a chore. Then when
Mhm.
I changed the perspective to, no, I want to treat myself and sit down to some quiet time and read, or listen to this audiobook and not be multitasking, like, and I viewed it as a treat. It felt differently. Patricia, were you a big reader as a child?
I did it a lot. Um, but I would say that it didn't really come natural to me. Some people just naturally like books. I read them because I was forced to, and it became part of me. Really, it's how it happened. I, came from the type of home where, my parents would take us to the library and get us to read books, and then we'd have to do like a, book report on them and turn them into our parents. This was very common for us during the summertime in particular, so that at the time I thought it was torture, but I realized growing up that they just wanted to keep our minds engaged, even though school was out. So I don't know that I could say it naturally came to me, but it became a part of me. And so, especially I could say that I picked it back up in college when I really kind of started my personal development journey. And those were the books that I was initially drawn to. Is very cultural book, like Black history type books, and also personal development. Those are the books, even to this day, that I'm still drawn to.
I love that. I love that. Let's see here. Chauncey also says she's been listening to some really good podcasts this year. I love that. SJ says, ladies, I will have to leave shortly, but wishing you all the warmth and peace over this festive season and a bright start for the new year. Same to you, love. Yes. Criminal Carol says, haha, I want to hear from you too. Ha, you lie. Um, uh, okay, so we're starting to get some responses to Caribbean Curl's question. So, G Angel says a solid no. Um, M Elizabeth says I'm also a healthcare professional. I've decided not to take it at least until I know it's safe, and maybe never, to be honest. Okay. Um, and so, Shanti comes back and says, Ayanla said, fill your cup first. What runs over is for everybody else, right? Um, and Elizabeth says, the power of no sermon. And oh, okay. So Chauncey came back and said, "Yeah, I look at it as a treat now. Just bought a new book, and I'm excited for it to get there." So, you want to
Uh,
go to the question at hand?
so, yeah. So one thing let me say this to Shanisi and anybody else who appreciates Ayanla. She does a live every Saturday morning. And so if you like a community of people, her prayer warriors, she calls everybody. Tune in. It's really good. She's on there for about an hour every Saturday morning. And I am typically on there on Saturday mornings. So this vaccine. So I'm gonna be really careful with what I say here, because they say that too much is given, much is required. So I realize that as a health professional, people will listen to me in a different way. And so I don't know your history. I don't know your background. I don't know your comorbidities. I don't know who you hang out with. I don't know who you live with. And so I don't want to advise anyone not understanding your full story. Okay. What I can say is, please take all those things into account, right? Who are you in contact on a regular basis? Are you frontline, right? Are you in clinical person yourself? Do you work with the elderly? Do you, because a lot of y'all who do are not going to have a choice, but that's just neither here nor there, I guess. So, who do you work with? Who do you work for? Who do you work around? Who do you live with? And what type of population is that person? Do you come in contact with a lot of people on a regular basis? Because the thing about vaccines is that, yeah, it's supposed to protect you, but it's also supposed to protect the community. Who is your community? Who are you coming in contact with on a daily basis? What is their health history like? What is your health history like? Can you afford, right? Do you have asthma? Do you have multiple upper respiratory infections a year? Are you susceptible to upper respiratory infections? Do you get really bad asthma attacks that land you in the ICU, sometimes having to be intubated? Like, I don't know your history, or are you relatively healthy? You know what I mean? And young, and you live by yourself, and like, you know what I'm saying? So take all of those things into account as you make your decision, and be well informed. So, as it's just rolling out now, just take a look at the statistics, the side effects, what's happening to those who are taking it, and we'll slowly be able to see that as this thing has been rolled out. So that's what I'm going to say. Be informed and take everything into account, your full clinical picture into account prior to you making your decision for yourself.
I love it, and that's it. That's the answer. Yeah, I think that was an appropriate response. So, listen, I couldn't have said it better myself. Okay. Um, I love us, by the way. Can I just say? Um, so yeah, thanks for that question. I mean, what's interesting about this year is that I never expected the way people want to care for themselves to be such a polarizing issue. Like that is probably the most shocking thing that I've seen this year. Uh, the way people, everybody's degree of what safe is and what safe isn't and all that kind of stuff. That probably was very shocking to me. Like I saw that approach of how people wanted to physically care for themselves or be more preventative or less preventative or whatever, everything in between, be more polarizing than almost any political party or anything like that. So that was very interesting to experience. So G Angel says, very good answer. Listen, if you go back and you remember, okay, so this is a little meta here, right? If you go back to one of the live streams that Patricia and I did about corporate America and how in corporate America that you have to manage performance, and you have to manage perception, and you have to manage relationships, right, you will understand what you just experienced. Okay. All right. So Emma says you are a very intelligent lady. Your response was responsible and golden. Of course it was.
Thank you.
And then Sean says, I agree. Crazy how a scientific issue became a political issue. Um, yeah. So
It is, but
yeah,
yeah.
and that's that. Um, but listen, yeah, I mean, so what are we talking about? So we recap 2020. We recap these lives. Y'all listen, I'm gonna try to do a better job of putting about the rest of these in a playlist. But y'all know y'all got a homegirl or a sister who probably need to get her life. Or if there's some areas where you want to go back and go, you know what, I really want to work on this for 2021, I say go back and watch some of the lives. I will tell you, even though it's me and or Patricia and I talking on these lives, they have blessed me. I have gone back and watched some of them and like, girl, that was good. That blessed me. Um, and if y'all never got a chance to watch Patricia's Ask a Married Woman feature that she did, so good. So good. And then if you need an encore, watch the miseducation of the Christian single woman and get your whole life, your entire
Gotta watch those together. Like,
together.
yes.
Lay your edges down first, okay? Lay your edges down first and get you some. I'm not gonna tell you to get coconut oil. I'm gonna tell you to get some black castor oil and then go from there.
Yep.
So, oh my goodness, this was good. This was.
Yes.
Are there
Yes.
any last questions before we wrap up, y'all? Before we go, you know, we won't talk to y'all to sometime next year. I mean, I'm pretty sure one of us will have some videos on the channel. When I say one of us, I'm not talking about me. No, I'm just joking. I will.
Listen, I've been proud of myself. I am into January right now for stuff coming up. Yes. I am because I'm be out of commission for a little bit, so I got it trying to get ready.
Yeah. You're so good at that. I think once we started doing lives, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be my one piece of content a week." But,
That was me at first. That was me at first.
but no, I took. If you guys have been rocking with my channel for a long time, I know some of you have come over from Patricia's channel, so you don't know. But several years ago, I did a series called Find Your Flavor, and I have been holding on to that in depth for years. I actually have a video that's about like 35 minutes long that I think I recorded in 2013 or 14, um, where I'm like talking to myself about the idea of Find Your Flavor, and then I kind of moved it into like curating your life and living with intention. And I created a curriculum to go along with that, and so I've been using that curriculum privately on my clients, even my business clients, right? Kind of like beta testing it and making sure that it really works more than just in what I did on myself. And so I'm finally like ready to like open that up, but in a very small, high level, intimate way. And so I'll be talking about that in the new year. But that's that's part of the reason why I have been dropping a lot of videos, is because I have spent, I mean, years sounds excessive, but I have spent years, but literally this year, like working through each piece of it with my clients and honing it in a way. Anyway, I'm excited about it. So that's that. Um, so Caribbean Curl says, we'll take these last couple of questions. Caribbean Curl says, any goals you want to share for the new year? Patricia, you got some goals?
I have some serious financial goals in 2021, and we so some of you are involved in my little designer life group, and we talked about living a few weeks ago, actually, living intentionally in your finances. And that's where a good part of my effort is going to be in 2021. I think I developed some pretty good strategies this year because of circumstance. And I think it served me well. And so I'm going to continue those in 2021. Um, the other thing is, which is funny because it's one of the few goals that I wrote down for 2020 that happened this year. And that was to better the quality of my relationships and to be intentional in my relationships, right? Again, not the way I thought it was going to happen, but it happened in 2020. And I want to keep that going in 2021. I want to become an even better friend. I want to become an even better daughter and sister and wife and mother. And I really want to deepen my connections with the people that I say that I care about, right? In 2021. So those are two of some of my goals.
Yeah, I'd say for me, my number one goal is relationships. I realized that I have a tendency to go very head in the sand about my internal passions, whether that's my business or whatever, and sometimes at the expense of my relationships. Not like in eliminating them in totality, but definitely pushing them to the burner more often than I would like to. And so it was my intent to do that this year in person, but now having to get a little bit more creative and realizing that no, I'm gonna have to be even more intentional than I thought. Like before, it was like, oh, I'm gonna have brunch with my friends on this frequency, or we're gonna get together on this frequency, and that was kind of my plan. Which sounds fine, but when you realize like no, like you're gonna have to put in some effort, and so that's kind of no matter what's going on, right? You can't say, oh, the world closed down, and so I wasn't able to hang out with my friends. Like, so for me, for 2021 and beyond, relationships has moved to the top of the list. And I think also, and that's all kind of relationships, romantic relationships, friendship relationships, family relationships. So that's pretty. I mean, I have other smaller goals, but I think that's number one on the list. Even my relationship, like with the subscribers on my channel or my clients, like relationships all around is at the top of my priority list for 2021. So, G Angel, this must be for you, Patricia. She said very quick, what do you use for your teeth? Haha, they are so white.
Why is it gotta be for me?
Listen, because you got the pearly whites, okay?
Uh, what's interesting? I get that comment a little bit. And it's like one of those things you don't notice about yourself, but people notice about you, which I think is interesting. I don't do anything in particular. I can say that I lean towards using Arm& and Hammer baking soda whitening toothpaste, and I brush my teeth at least twice a day. I do use Listerine as well daily. And one other thing I was going to say, I go to the dentist twice a year. And if you do, but some people just have natural like teeth that are kind of a little yellow. Blue base lipsticks are great for that. They make your teeth look whiter. So make sure that you're not using a lipstick that's like yellow base because it's just going to make your teeth look more yellow. So a nice blue base berry or blue base red. And then all of a sudden it's like an illusion. It makes your teeth look even more white.
I love
So
it. Emma Elizabeth says, "Happy holidays, ladies, and God bless. Hope to be a part of a live soon. I love it. We will try to bring it back sometime in Q1 2021." Cribbin Curl says, "I remember Find Your Flavor." Yeah, like I cannot tell you how exciting. Like, y'all, I had a one-on-one call with one of my clients today who only does like the life curriculum with me. Like she's a full-time employee in healthcare, and so like we're not doing business stuff, and like we've been going through the curriculum for the past couple of months, and the woman that she is right now compared to the woman that she was when she first started working together, like and sometimes she watches the lives. Like I almost wanted to cry. I was like, I don't know why am I so emotional lately, but I wanted to cry because I was like, it's not a mystery to be the kind of woman that you want to be. It's a process, and a lot of times we've been left to our own devices to figure out what that process is. But what I love about what Patricia's doing with her group, and what we're doing with these lives, and what I hope to be doing with women in the future, is like some of us have worked through that, and we're like, girl, let me just show you the pathway versus you having to go through the wilderness and figure it out yourself. So I'm excited about
Yeah.
that. Rashida is here and she says, hey, beautiful ladies. Hey, Rashida. Um, uh, and I think this is a good question to end on. Caribbean Curl says, my final question, how would you advise to grow closer to God? I think I'm going to let Patricia start that one off.
The first thing that I would say is think about it like any other relationship that you have. And how can you become closer to someone that you don't spend time with? And the more time you spend with someone, the more you get to know them, the more you get to know them, the closer you become to them. So the first thing and the only thing I'm really going to highlight is spending time with God. And whatever that looks like for you, some people it's a room, a closet, a space, a corner, and then a moment in time, moment during the day. Some people are early morning before the sun comes up, and some people are late at night after the kids are have gone to sleep. That's when you really have your moment, spending time to open yourself up and to listen and allow the Holy Spirit to speak to you. Read about Him, right? Read about God in His Word, and that's how you get to know His character, who He is, how He feels about you, how He sees you. That's how you get to know Him, is spend time with Him, spend time with in His Word, spend time talking to Him and allowing Him to talk to you. That's how you get closer to God.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think Patricia hit the nail on the head. When you think about if it was a person in your life, um, if you never called them and had a conversation, if you never got together and sat and chatted, if you only called them when you needed something, if you were distant for months and then you came around when you were in a panic, like it might not be the best relationship, but when you think of it from a perspective of this is my heavenly father, like my father, right? And so I think, Patricia and I are very, when we get this question, we're very careful not to be prescriptive, um, because I do think that can look a lot of different ways. I mean, yes, there are some things that some people do to, and I've said this in one of my videos that I think I did in Vlogmas like 2 or 3 years ago, about there are things that will encourage that connection. They don't necessarily guarantee that, right? And it's kind of like healthy habits. Like if you think about you want to be healthy in a certain area of your life, there's more than one way to get there. Some people are going to be vegan, some people are going to be vegetarian, some people are going to be low carb, some people are going to intermittent fast, right? Because they're all trying to get to the same place. And so, I haven't read this book in its entirety, but I've definitely read the summary and like taken the quiz in it, and it's called Sacred Pathways. And the book basically is about like outside of prayer time and devotion time and reading God's word, how else um could you or are you naturally bent to spend time with God, right? And it's kind of like it's almost like the love languages book, where people are acts of service or physical touch or things like that. But it's kind of like that. Like so for me, and this is why I think we're not prescriptive. Prescriptive. Yes, I spend time in God's word. I spend time in prayer. I spend time in devotion. I do have a fasting practice. But for me, particularly for Evelyn in particular, I feel really close to God when I'm in nature, right? So I have to make it a priority for me to go and spend time with God in an environment that makes me feel, like that is conducive to our unique relationship, right? So, there's a pond that I go to all the time. There's a park that I go to all the time. Sometimes I go for a walk and I just want to talk with God. There's no music playing. I'm not listening to a sermon, but that's my relationship with him. And so I think just, really exploring, how you like to spend time with God. But like Patricia said, also getting to know him. It's also like you got to get to know somebody and ask them about themselves and their nature and what they want and what they desire out of the relationship. Which I think sometimes I know I've been guilty of being like, this is what I want out of my relationship with God. And if I'm not careful, will lose sight of what he desires out of the relationship with me, right? So, I think that's a great question. I think I always like to start my planning for the next year off with time with God and go, okay, new year, your priority number one. So what do you want me to focus on? What do you want me to focus on? What do you want me to spend time in or whatever? And then I go from there, and then in the remaining spaces I add in what I want as long as it doesn't conflict. So I think that was a really great question to end on, because I'm gonna eat some dinner before my next client call. But this has been so good. I'm glad Patricia kind of nudged me and be like, "Us, we doing a call?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. This was nice. I knew we just had to sneak one more in.
One more in, one more in.
In, yes. So I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this.
Yes. Any final thoughts, Patricia? As this will be our last live for the year, not our last live ever, hopefully.
No. Listen, I'll just wrap it up with what we talked about at the beginning of the live, and that is 2020 brought us the perspective that we wanted, but not in the way that we anticipated. And so now that we have the perspective that we wanted, we can walk in the newness of 2020, regardless of what it brings. It can bring us even more greatness, like that, like we talked about, the good things that 2020 brought us. 2021 can bring us even more of that, right? Because we have the right perspective. So I wish you guys well in the new year 2021, and the holidays, whatever the holidays bring for you, whether it's just going to be you, yourself, and I, you, yourself, and the Lord,
Right?
or whether you're spending time with family or whatnot, whatever it is, be safe, you guys. Wash your hands, wear your mask, socially distance, all that good stuff as much as you can. And yeah, guys, I just wish you guys well, and we'll see you next year. Don't know when, but hopefully we'll send out a little invitation schedule so that you guys can know when the next one is coming.
Yes. Same here, you guys. It has been our pleasure to spend this time with you over this year, really. And yeah, we will do our best to keep you posted. Give us a little time. Lots of wonderful things happening over the next couple of weeks. And thank you guys in the comments for the early birthday blessings. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, I'll be much older by the time you see me again. So, but with that said, y'all, we're going to wrap it up. If you came in a little bit later, catch the replay. We had a really, really good discussion about this year and just some other things. So, thank you for guys for always interacting. Like, we wouldn't have a live if y'all didn't show up, right? We'd be sitting here talking to ourselves. So we're so appreciative of that. And thanks for coming back. You know what I'm saying? So that's it, ladies. Good night.